We have another report of an industry insider reaching out to WDW Pro over at thatparkplace.com, and they have some very interesting thoughts and reveals regarding the future of the X-Men in the MCU. We kind of all saw this coming. Apparently, one of the big priorities is to race swap a lot of the characters within the X-Men team. Not surprised after what we've seen in the MCU lately. Also, they have another big plan for the Fox actors themselves that originally portrayed the characters on film, and I don't think most of you are going to like the plans that they have for those characters, especially if you were a fan of those original X-Men movies. They're basically going to be cannon fodder for the new characters. Very interesting stuff. I do want to say WDW Pro over on that Park Place does traffic a little bit in rumor here and there, so this isn't confirmed. This isn't set in stone. The information I'm about to talk about are from second and third hand reports. What you choose to do with this information, whether you want to trust it, be skeptical, or outright dismiss it, that is all up to you. I'm just here to give you the information and my thoughts regarding the report coming out of WDW Pro from this industry insider talking about the future of X-Men and all the race swaps that are going to happen. According to an insider in his connections with international market contacts, Disney's Marvel Entertainment is hard at work with their partners developing the future of the X-Men. Action figures, assorted toys, t-shirts, coffee mugs, you name it. It's time for a new X-Men brand under the MCU umbrella. Even though, for now, the X-Men name remains, we're now getting the latest rumor leak that Disney wants to race swap various X-Men characters. If you've been paying attention, this kind of all makes sense within the context of what the MCU is in Phase 4. We've already got the reveal of the first mutant in the MCU, Kamala Khan. That character wasn't race swapped. She was essentially species swapped. Originally in comic books, at least, she's an Inhuman. Now she's a mutant. We also had the first appearance of the second mutant in the MCU, Namor, who has absolutely been race swapped. We're seeing these things all over the place. The good news is, I guess, that at least for now, they're planning on keeping the X-Men name and not going with the mutants, which is something Marvel Studios producer Victoria Alonso is pushing for heavily behind the scenes, if we are to believe the reports that have been out for about a year and a half now. And the craziest thing about all this, when you're talking about the X-Men, like the mutants, you really don't need to do a whole lot of race swaps. There are so many characters, minority characters already on the X-Men team. Just think about the big names. Obviously, you have Storm, Bishop, Dust, Sunspot, WizKid, Psylocke, Prodigy, Tempo. Really, the list goes on and on when you talk about minority characters like on the X-Men team traditionally. So I don't know why they need to do the race swaps. Obviously, they do want to bring in the name cachet of some of the bigger characters that are traditionally white male characters, like your Wolverine, your Cyclops, Charles Xavier, Colossus, Iceman. A lot of those characters that have been around for 40 to 60 years at this point. A lot of those characters are white males, and apparently they would like to get rid of them. Not surprising given the state of the MCU in Phase 4, what we've seen so far. Right now, a big question is how much race swapping to include. The thinking is apparently that race swaps will be more accepted if the incoming actor is a bigger name, with the thinking that the more marquee the name, the harder it is for fans to object or criticize it. This is a strategy that I don't think is actually going to work out for Marvel Studios at this time. They've done so many of these race swaps, not just in like the MCU, but just throughout what Disney is putting out right now, just in theaters and stuff. They're going back and taking a lot of traditionally white characters and race swapping them that I think a lot of people have just kind of had enough at this point. It's not really a black and white thing. It's like, I can see exactly what you're doing, and I'm so tired of it that at this point, I will accept nothing. I don't care if you make Morgan Freeman Professor X, I'm not accepting it. I think that's going to be the attitude of a lot of people regarding Disney coming into 2023. And to be quite honest with you, I think a lot of cases like race swapping some of these characters, it doesn't really mean anything. It's not like a bad thing or a good thing. I only think the race swaps really don't work if like the race of the character is key to who they are, like in the Marvel universe. Like race swapping Heimdall, I always thought was really strange. There's no way that there's going to be a person of African descent, like as a Norse god. Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One never really made any sense whatsoever. They actually did get some pretty decent pushback on that one. But I truly do believe in another time and place, in another era, you probably could race swap a character like Cyclops or a character like Wolverine, and there really wouldn't be too much feedback or pushback as long as you got like the casting right, as long as you got in a good actor and they portrayed the character well. But at this point, with what Disney has been doing for so many years now, people can kind of see right through it. It's not about getting the right actor. It's about making a political statement. It's about pushing an agenda. And at this point, it feels like they just want to push white characters to the side in the name of the diversity, I guess. And I think one of the real big issues is It's really been at the expense of the casting. You can tell they're not going out there trying to get the best person for the role. They're trying to get the person that best exemplifies what they would like to push forward with their agenda within Disney. And I think that's why you're getting a lot of pushback from a lot of people these days. And I do not think this is going to work. Select Fox actors will be included as bait and jobbers for new Disney X-Men. The Fox actors are considered top-notch bait for MCU fans. At first glance, this will be falsely interpreted by some fans as Disney listening to the fans. It's not. It's a cynical money ploy, which also has a component to shut up those manufacturing licensed products. We've certainly seen this ploy plenty of times within Phase 4 of the MCU. I guess the best example really is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah, you had some cameos, but they really weren't all that impactful. What you're supposed to come away from that movie is realizing just how amazing America Chavez is, because that's the focus of the movie. That's the character they're actually going to try and get over. So these other cameos, as the article says, they're just going to be jobbers. They're going to be cannon fodder for the new X-Men to go in there and beat them up. Perhaps we'll see some of the original Fox actors from the X-Men validating the characters very strongly, being like, oh my goodness, you're the strongest person I've ever seen. I'm so envious of you. Kind of like with what we got with Han Solo in The Force Awakens. All of a sudden he sees Rey and he's just in awe of her. He's like, oh my goodness, you're so smart. You can fix my spaceship. You can fly my spaceship better, kind of thing. Why don't you join the team? You're better than everybody I've already got, kind of thing. And it just reigns through as so hollow and manipulative. And no one ever kind of accepts this stuff. If Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios really do intend to use those Fox actors to get people into theaters just to job them out and get the new X-Men characters from Disney over, a lot of people are going to leave that theater very unsatisfied, no repeat viewings, and you're going to have even more people just walk away from the MCU for good, which I think they've lost a lot of people that were really committed to the MCU and basically watching every single thing they put out. I wouldn't be surprised if they lost like 20% of their diehard audience at this point, maybe even more than that. For a franchise that was used to producing billion-dollar hits on the regular, that's going to be an enormous loss, because those are the repeat customers, the ones that go back to the movie theater multiple times. I know I went and saw Infinity War like 5 or 6 times in the theater, and there are people that were way more hardcore than I was. And a lot of those people are absolutely walking away because they're fed up with what Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are producing these days, which in a lot of cases is just really bad movies with agendas that are very easy to spot. And at some point, it just kind of feels like racism at this point. They are working hard at trying to find a palatable balance between the minimum property authenticity to ensure commercial success and their main focus of being reflective of not only today's society, but also the society of tomorrow. One Marvel midline creative referred to this as unfortunate because that means having white men be more present than they want to. The main objective is to continue to move on to transit from white men, even if this means leaving money on the table. It's really hard to discount what this insider is saying because you can just see the evidence left and right strewn throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They are leaving money on the table all over the place in order to push something that a very small percentage of their actual customers even care about at this point. Yes, there are a lot of white male characters within the Marvel Universe, but there are a ton, and I do mean a ton, of minority characters that they've done absolutely nothing with. But their idea is to take the established names, race swap them, and then make you like them by importing the Fox actors that were in the original X-Men movies, jobbing them out, and getting the new characters over. Where have we seen that before? We see that directly out of the playbook of Marvel Comics. They try to do it with Riri Williams. They try to do it with America Chavez. They try to do it with Jane Foster Thor. They try to do it with Amadeus Cho. They did it with all their young race and gender swap characters that they try to get over in all new, all different Marvel. And it was firmly rejected pretty much across the board. This is absolutely destined to fail. If Marvel Studios continue down this path of race swapping characters, using the original actors to get the new characters over, making you accept it, people are just going to continue walking and walking away, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe box office is going to keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. They've already made some huge blunders when it comes to the X-Men, none bigger than establishing Kamala Khan as the first mutant, the first X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Huge mistake, in my opinion, not a popular character, not a popular TV show. I broke it all down when it happened, talked about all the ramifications and why this was such a colossal mistake by Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios. You're definitely going to want to check this one out if you don't see it here. There's also a link in the video description.